welcome. I'm so excited to be here and to be your host. My name is Adam Markell. I'm the CEO and co-founder of WORKWELL Labs, an organization that's committed to creating healthier and happier places to work. I'm very excited today to present another amazing topic and an incredible presenter in our webinar series. I'm going to share a little bit more about him. Brad Costanzo is the gentleman that you're going to get to spend some meaningful time with today. I'll quickly introduce him, about 40 minutes of content and then some Q&A. So if you've got questions that come up for you along the way, you can type them into the Q&A, you can type them into the chat if you like, you can hold on to them until the end. The choice is yours. But without further ado, let's just jump right in. Brad Costanzo is an AI and innovation strategist. As the founder of Accelerated Intelligence AI, he advises organizations of all sizes, helping them to navigate the future of work while helping leaders to think faster, adapt smarter, and leverage AI to build scalable, future-proof businesses without losing their human edge. I know Brad personally. I think the world of him. I'm so excited that he's going to join us today. So Brad, why don't you come out from behind the screen and take it away?
Hey, Adam. Thanks for having me. Everybody, I'm Brad Costanzo. I appreciate the introduction and the opportunity to talk to everybody today about, one of the most exciting, disrupting, overwhelming, confusing trends and technologies we've got today, which is, artificial intelligence. And I titled this presentation Superhuman Resources, and not everybody watching this is in HR, but everybody deals with human resources. And I came up with this name after, I was speaking with another company and I was working with their human resources department, and we were just working with some a handful of initiatives to help them be more productive. And I was able to help one of the HR people accomplish something. I won't go into all the details. And she looked up at me and she goes, "You don't understand. You just saved me maybe a week's worth of time in every single month in doing this." And she goes, "This human resources department is going to be a superhuman resources department." And I laughed at that. And I was like, there's something to that name, but it's also very appropriate because of the capabilities that AI and innovation give us all. But today we're going to talk about how to create a culture of innovation at every level while de-risking the transformation, because it is not without risk. Now, AI isn't coming. You probably know that. It's on its way. I mean, it's not on its way. It's actually here. And if you're here, well, that's good. That means that you and your organization will be here tomorrow because you took time out of your day. You're spending the energy to pay attention to this. And that means that you are paying attention to the trends that matter. Now, AI is interesting in the fact that it gives us superhuman capabilities, right? Now, there's a tale of two superhumans here. We're all familiar with Spider-Man and Batman, and I'm going back into my nerdy comic book days when I was growing up. But I thought this was an appropriate metaphor because there's two types of superheroes. One of them is Spider-Man. He's superhuman. He has capabilities that other humans don't have. He was bitten by accident. He didn't ask for these powers. They were thrust upon him, and they're very unique. Nobody else has Spider-Man's powers. But if you look at Batman, and if you're familiar with the Batman comic, he's not superhuman. He is a fully human, and he uses tools and skills and training to wield these tools unlike anybody else. And that gives him these superhuman capabilities. The only problem with having this is that everybody is Batman now. Like, imagine everybody had Batman's tool belt and capabilities, just like everybody has access to artificial intelligence. It's an amazing technology, but if we're the only one, like if I was the only one who had it, I could take over the world, but everybody has access to this. And that means that it is our responsibility to learn how to use these tools for good and to how to shepherd them in so that our organizations, that our human resources, and that ourselves can really capitalize on them. Now, Batman also had Alfred. Alfred was his butler, and it was his trusted guide that allowed him to save the world, right? If everybody's Batman now, loaded up with the same tools and technology, then to a large degree, HR is the Alfred. It's the steady, trusted force that's helping superheroes do their best work. Well, right now, Alfred's stepping out of the shadows. And in today's world in the AI era, HR isn't just support, it's leadership. It's the heart of strategy and innovation and people-centered growth. And we're at a point where we can now have innovation at every single level of the company because every single person has access to the tools and strategies that allow them to work better, faster, and smarter. And it allows us to not only innovate at the C-suite level, but to go down to people at managers of departments and the people who work for them to say, if you were given these tools, how could you do faster work? How could you do better work? How can we create new opportunities for you to use your brilliance and let the robots do what the robots do? And I called my company Accelerated Intelligence for a reason. Two reasons. It looks like artificial intelligence. Sounded kind of cool. But more importantly, I view artificial intelligence just as a tool. Accelerated intelligence is the outcome we all want because intelligence is the seed of creativity, of productivity, of innovation. And there's a lot of types of intelligence. There's obviously human, there's business intelligence, marketing intelligence, social intelligence, financial intelligence. And it just so happens that AI can help us leverage those to a great degree in all of those ways. Now, today I'm going to go over a handful of things for you. I'm going to touch on the current state of AI for organizations, large and small. I'm going to show you a few case studies of companies successfully using AI. I'm also going to address some of the key concerns of organizations, large and small, in adopting and embracing this. I'm going to share with you my 5 buckets framework to simplify AI. And whenever I show this to people, it removes overwhelm from them to go, what should we do? What could we do? As long as they're making the final piece, which is the 5 critical shifts that I believe all organizations need to make. So without further ado, I would like to move on to the state right now. I think we all understand that AI is powering a shift in human resources. And by HR, I don't mean the department necessarily. I mean the human resources. And that's at every level. Human resources at the C-suite, human resources out on the front line. It automates the mundane. It can supercharge your core functions and produce really, really powerful results. I'd love to know, you can put this in the chat. Is there anybody right now using AI? Whether you're dabbling with it, is it a part of your every single day workflows? Are you restricted from using it? Brandy, that's great. You said yes. I think I remember very distinctly when ChatGPT came out on the market about 2.5, 3 years ago. God, time's flying. I remember my jaw was a little bruised because I played with it for about 3 minutes and it slammed on the desk with, I can't believe we can do this. Now, I've been using artificial intelligence in my career as an entrepreneur, as a growth consultant, and as an innovation strategist. When it came out, I noticed the shift as something, this is a shiny object that we cannot afford to ignore. And so I did everything I could to learn how to use it, but use the practical, applicable aspects of AI to innovate. And I'm not a computer engineer or a programmer. I have ones who work for me, but I'm the one focused on the outcomes. Now, there was a recent study, I believe this was done by McKinsey or Deloitte. I can't remember. I don't have the thing on the bottom, but there was a study that said what % of executives are citing, the desire for AI benefits? What are the reasons? Well, 62% of them said we want to enhance the value of our products and services. 46% just said we want to optimize operations. 44% said we want to automate our tasks. 39% said we want to be able to make better decisions. And 33% said we want to pursue new markets. Well, what do you know about the very last one in the lower right-hand corner? 20% said job cuts. Truth is, job cuts are the least common driver, but they're the biggest concern of employees everywhere. Well, not just employees, I mean, business owners themselves. Everybody is worried about obsolescence, but it turns out it's the least common reason that organizations and executives want to embrace it. There's going to be an impact on jobs. People will lose jobs. That is true. They will be replaced, sometimes by other people who know how to use AI. It'll also be replaced by technology. But a lot of new jobs will get created, and it will increase the hiring specifically of people who come in with AI and automation skills. This is the new super skill set to learn. I was talking to a colleague of mine recently, and he's got a organization. I think he's got about 150 employees, small but very successful business. And he said, game has changed. We're on a hiring spree right now, but if you do not have any AI experience, you're out. We don't even consider you at this point. Kind of reminds me, like, years ago, you had to have like Microsoft Office experience. Well, now you have to have at least a degree of AI proficiency. Good news is it's not that complicated to learn. This is a memo. I'm going to blow this up. On March 20th, from the CEO of Shopify. Many people know what Shopify is. It's one of the largest e-commerce platforms in the world. The CEO said, I'm going to read a little bit of this to you over on the left-hand side, saying having AI alongside the journey is increasingly doing not just the consultation, but doing the work for our merchants. Our merchants is a mind-blowing step function change here. Right in the middle, you can see it's also exactly the kind of environment that our top performers tell us they want. Learning together, surrounded by people who are also on their journey of personal growth and working on worthwhile, meaningful, and hard problems is precisely the environment that Shopify was created to provide. This is both an opportunity and a requirement deeply connected to the core values of be a constant learner and thrive on change. Now, they went on to say a couple other things. Using AI effectively is now a fundamental expectation of everyone at Shopify. Everyone. Because I don't think it's feasible to opt out of learning the skill and applying AI in your craft. You're welcome to try, but I want to be honest, I can't see this working out today and definitely not tomorrow. And the last section of his memo said, learning is self-directed, but share what you learn. Have access to you have access to all the cutting edge AI tools as possible. We've got all this stuff for you. But before asking for more headcount, before asking for more human resources, teams must demonstrate why they cannot get what they want done using AI. What would it look like if an autonomous AI agent were already a part of the team? This question can lead to really fun discussions in projects. Now, I bring this up to just, I guess, what is the word? It's escaping me. Amplify the imperative that companies all over the world are starting to adopt. And the fact that you're here means that you might be one of those as well. So congratulations. Now, AI is also empowering HR professionals specifically, right? Beyond just equipping the human resources you have, it can help coach talent, advise management, develop expertise, and bring out the truly human aspects of what we want to do with our teams. AI should not replace the human interaction. It should amplify it by using automation and the technology to do all the robotic stuff so that we can focus on real people, so we can focus on their emotional needs, their financial needs, their skill set needs. And instead of cutting people, we can augment them so that we can get a lot more done in a lot less time and do a lot better work. Now, some of the more tactical aspects that AI can help you in a new hire is that it can improve the onboarding experience. For instance, many of the companies work with have employee manuals, SOPs, how to do this. And if you're like me, a non-instruction reader, I've never opened one of those in my life. However, a lot of the companies who are using this and they're creating chatbot-based employee manuals, employees will start to use those to a great degree by just typing in what's the employee policy on vacation or dress code or changing our passwords, et cetera. And they can get it in multiple modalities and in an instant the way they need it. And if they can say, I forgot how to do XYZ, instead of going to their manager or going to a senior colleague, they can just ask the internal chat knowledge base, and it'll tell them exactly what to do. And if you played around with ChatGPT or your favorite language models, you'll understand that that's exactly how it works. You can just get the answers. But when this is tied into your company's corporate knowledge base, those answers are much more specific. You can also create accelerated adaptation. And by that, what I mean is when you are going through change, AI is amazing for managing that change, for managing both what people learn and how they learn. The ability to acquire skills now is unprecedented because you can use these tools to create customized learning paths that are interactive and say, tell me what I need to know about topic A. And then I break that down. Here's what I don't understand. And if you've ever used ChatGPT or Google Gemini or something like that in this manner, you'll understand what I mean by that. Next, I want to talk about a handful of companies out there. I'm not going to mention the names who are achieving some dramatic results. This was a company that does technology sales, and they had very slow responses to RFPs. Those, I'm sure you understand that means a request for proposal. So what they created was an RFP generator and sales chatbot. It resulted in a 33% faster deal closures in just 45 days. So what this meant was when an RFP came in, the first thing they had to do was analyze the RFP, determine if this is something they could fulfill, and then create their proposal that met the RFP guidelines. So instead, an automated function was done to analyze what is on the RFP, cross-reference with the company's capabilities, and then create a proposal 10 times quicker and even better and more thorough that answered absolutely every single thing that the person wanted. And once more, this resulted in them getting better proposals done and faster. And I think a 33% jump in sales in 45 days is something any company would welcome. That's not all. There's other companies in different industries, such as an apparel chain recently used AI to personalize marketing emails based upon the actions being taken at the organization, like with their customer list. And by personalizing them using AI based upon the things they clicked on, the topics they read, it increased a sales boost of 10% almost immediately. A furniture maker used AI as design suggestions, reducing the design time by 20%. That's enormous for a large furniture making company. A chiropractic chain automated patient communication. So this is both using voice agents and chatbots and text message that can go back and forth. It resulted in 15% fewer no-shows. And that was a big move for them. And they just implemented that. So it's brand spanking new. A regional bank added customer service chatbots, and that reduced call center load by 30%. And lastly, a private school recently created personalized learning plans for their students, which, well, for their teachers, were creating these to teach their students. And that resulted in a 25% less teacher prep time, which not only gave the teacher more time to focus on what was important, but it also reduced and removed some of the stress. Now, I could go on for days about industry specific applications, but I think you guys get a lot of the point. It's insanely useful. But some of the biggest concerns about adopting AI include the following. These are probably the big four that I come across. How do I justify the return on investment? And they have difficulty proving the value. They know it'll help, but how? Well, what we like to do is focus on the quantifiable cost savings and efficiency gains. We start with small projects. We say, let's start with this, see how it works, move on to the next one. You don't have to, what do they say about eating an elephant? One bite at a time. A lot of folks are concerned about data privacy concerns, and that is legitimate. The bigger the company, the more they have to be worried about this. But a solution is simply to implement strong AI governance, ethics framework, and transparency. Or you can also integrate private large language models. A large language model is like a ChatGPT or a Claude or something that you probably have all used, but these can be implemented on premises, private. OpenAI does not get the data. So there are a lot of ways to lock this down to where it does not let data leak out of your company. The last two are the expertise gap. People just don't know what they don't know, and making sure that employees have enough skills to use this with specialized training while also hiring employees who are AI enabled. And the truth is, this is still so new, it's moving quickly, but there's not enough people who have AI skills as the demand is out there. If you have children out there and they're wondering, what do I do when I grow up? Well, this is the number one thing to be proficient in. Now, lastly, and certainly not least, the biggest concern about it of anybody who's paying attention is overwhelm. They don't know. There's so much they can do. AI can do a little bit of everything. Where do I start? And the more you pay attention to the AI news, the more AI newsletters you're on, the more overwhelming it can get because you just see there's nothing that this doesn't touch. Well, today I'm going to show you a few ways to reduce some of that overwhelm. So it took me about a full year of working with a variety of organizations to realize something important. AI only does 5 jobs. I call this the 5 buckets framework, and I'll explain the bucket method metaphor in a minute. But it helps you think, create, communicate, analyze, and finally helps you to automate. I'm going to go through some examples on each one of these. But it's important to know that everything AI does falls into one of these categories. So if we go on to the thinking bucket, well, what does that mean? I think of the thinking bucket as all of the for your eyes only material. It helps you brainstorm or research or do strategic planning, whether you're planning out a go-to-market strategy, in the marketing department, or you are planning, thinking about how do I, I've got a problem employee who is not doing really well. How do I talk to them about improving their performance without, ruffling the feathers or making them, you know, triggered and go home and cry? It can use it for just giving you ideas on how to frame things. Here's a couple other examples. These are prompts you can use, thinking bucket prompts, depending on your position. These are very basic, but if you've been using AI and haven't been doing things like this, you're missing out. So if you're in HR, you could say create a comprehensive employee onboarding schedule checklist for this specific role, including tasks, responsible parties, and timelines. If you're in the content or marketing group, you could say generate a list of 50 potential blog post ideas with working titles, right? Marketing strategy, develop a detailed marketing funnel for this product, including strategies for each stage. This is just getting ideas. Competitive analysis, create a comprehensive competitor analysis. It's going to go out there and do deep research on these companies. And the ability for the deep research right now is unprecedented what you can get. Literally, it's kind of scary. I ran a deep research report on myself, and I was like, wow, I didn't know that much information was out there about me. Crisis management, create a detailed crisis communication plan, including key messages, stakeholder analysis, communication channels. These are very simple. If you haven't been doing them though, you'll be amazed if you just play with it. And as a side note, playing with AI is the single best way to get good at it. I've got a little acronym I use called FAFIO, FAFIO, which is F around and figure it out. You'd be surprised at how expert I've become at a lot of things just by saying, well, let's see what it can do. Now, we're going to move on from the thinking bucket into the creating bucket. Now, the thinking and creating bucket is where I'd say 90% of people and organizations are playing these two little buckets and pretty much nothing else. But you think, well, what can it create? Well, AI can create text, images, audios, and videos, or combinations of those, right? It can create an email copy, but it can also create an entire video script, actual AI generated video, audio narration with an AI voice, AI generated images, and then shorts and combinations of them. Now, a lot of people use this to create pitch decks and investor reports and content marketing and blog posts and for search engine optimization, sales copy, ads, creative, stakeholder, shareholder reports. There's really no limit to what you can create. In fact, you can also create presentations. Anybody in the audience here ever created a slideshow, like let's say on PowerPoint? Does anybody love that? Like they just like, I can't wait to get to a blank screen and stare at PowerPoint and then start to create my presentation because this is so much fun. I know it's my favorite thing to do. I'm going to give you an example. This is a program that I use. It's called Gamma, Gamma. And in the next 60 seconds, you're going to see real time. I recorded this earlier, start to finish, a sample presentation being started. I think if I click it, it'll press play and I'll walk you through what I'm doing. So let's just see if this plays and let's go play. Here we go. So I'm going to describe what I want to make in here. I think it's playing. Actually, I don't think it's playing. I'm going to back up one and I'm going to go back into it. Let's just see what this does. Okay, I typed in how to create a 5-star customer service using AI. And what it's doing right in front of your face is it's creating an outline just like this. Now this is editable. I can move them around. I can add cards. Here I'm just picking a color. I'm picking a color at random. And then I'm trying to decide what I want. Yep, AI images. This looks good. Let's go ahead and click generate. That's all I did. And once more, you can see the timer in the lower left-hand corner, and it is creating a fully editable, researched, AI generated with images presentation that I can then give as is, edit, or export into something like PowerPoint, Keynote, PDF. You can see it's doing this. And everything you saw from the beginning, all I typed in was one line. And you can see what it created. Once more, fully editable. I can add new slides. I can add a slide with AI. And you can see the elapsed time is 1 minute, 11 seconds. Does anybody think that this would be a useful tool for them to have if they need to communicate something in their organization? I do. Is it cheating? No, because it's using AI to do the heavy lifting. I've got a framework I call the 10-80-10 principle. And that means I still have to do the first 10%. And I have to do the last 10%. AI does the middle 80. But it's my job to define what I want, the parameters and constraints, and then refine what it gives me. The people who complain that AI doesn't produce good results are just having AI do all the work for them. But if you remember that you still need the human bookends, you got to be on the front end and the back end. Now I want to move on to the communication bucket. This is one of my favorites because to me, it's the closest to the cash register because you're communicating with leads and customers and stakeholders. So in the communication bucket, this is typically chatbots and voice agents, right? How do you communicate with people? Text and voice. So we often see companies using chatbots on their website to answer questions, but also via SMS, dealing with customers, reactivating past customers, saying, send a text. Hey, is this the same Adam who inquired about roofing leak, getting a new roof a few months ago? And he replies, well, yes, it is. Great. I was just curious. Is this something you're still interested in? It goes back and forth. It answers questions. And then it has a goal to book them on an appointment, thus bypassing the need for a salesperson. It just books them right into their calendar. This can also be done with 24/7 virtual voice agents that answer the phone, ask questions, and book appointments too. They're multilingual. They can make both inbound and outbound calls. One of the ones that I'm going to show you right now, this is a demo for a client using a voice agent. And hopefully you'll be able to hear this.
Which means we use materials and techniques that are biocompatible and minimize toxicity. Who do I have the pleasure of speaking with today? This is Julie. Okay, Julie, are you a new patient or an existing patient? I'm a new patient. Are you calling for a new patient evaluation or is this an emergency? No, it's not an emergency. That's great, Julie. Do you have any questions about seeing a holistic dentist before we get you scheduled? Is it safe? It's safe. Our practice is focused.
Okay, I'm going to stop right there because it goes on for quite a few minutes. And it is one of those things that I think you can understand if you're listening to it. It's very real sounding. It's emotional. There's background noise. You don't have to try to fool the person, but you have the ability to offload a lot of the heavy lifting, especially after hours. And these can be built for a number of reasons. There's another one right here that I just put on the screen. This is my own chatbot. So this is been trained with about 3.5 million of my words. And if you go to chat.bradcostanzo.com, you can text it, you can do voice with it, you can call it, and you can even do a video chat. If you see that little video button, you can do this on mobile or desktop. And it may ask you your email, but it will allow you to ask me questions about me, my business, about AI in general, things that I know. And it's really an amazing thing. Like I build a lot of these for executives and founders who want to be able to give their employees the ability to communicate with a virtual version of them and to get advice. It just kind of brings them closer. So this is a lot of fun that you can kind of play with. Now, the last two buckets are some of the unsung heroes. There's the analyzing bucket, right? We've talked about thinking, creating, communicating. This is analyzing. So it can do quantitative analysis as well as qualitative analysis. So quantitative is uploading data, spreadsheets, P&Ls, balance sheets, other data, and you can have it tell stories in the data. It can be your data scientist. It can create charts and graphs, do predictive forecasting and analytics. And this is one of the big behind the scenes workhorses, because as a company, if you're not making data-driven decisions, you're just guessing. And guessing can be good occasionally, but if they are critical decisions, you want to be able to analyze this. Can analyze contracts, can find holes in that. And that kind of falls under the qualitative analysis part. One of my favorite things to do with organizations who have sales teams is to take the top performing salespeople, like the top 10%, and the transcripts of their calls, and run it through something like ChatGPT. I have a series of prompts that I do, which will analyze the way their sales call went, and then it grabs it creates an analysis of it, the things they did right, how they handled objections, everything else. And then we take the bottom salespeople and we run the transcripts through there. And then the GPT will analyze both and then create a corrective mechanism, like a corrective training for each individual one, based upon this is what the top salespeople did. This is what you're doing. Here's how you can improve. And that's an example of quantitative versus qualitative. Now, the last bucket, this is what ties it all together. I call this the automating bucket. Oftentimes you'll hear this called like the agentic, AGENTIC bucket. So this is where you're having multiple systems talk to each other, connecting software tools. These capabilities have been around for a long time. I call them dumb automations that says when this happens, when a new lead comes in, send it over here, notify this person, send an email, do whatever. There's no limit to the number of tasks that can be automated, but now we can make them smart with AI. So we can have information come in and AI analyze it and then create something new and then communicate it with somebody else. So for instance, we do a lot of lead scoring, like in our company and other companies. A new lead comes in, AI goes out and it does background research on that person. It brings it into the CRM, it gives them a lead score, and it tells a salesperson why this person may be a good or a bad fit. The limits to the automating bucket are your imagination. But how do you use this? Okay, 5 buckets, Brad, really cool. What do I do with it? Well, the goal is first to identify your heaviest buckets. Where are you spending the most time, energy, money, mind share in? Are you creating a lot of things? Are you spending a lot of money communicating with customer support? What's the heaviest bucket? Because there's a lot of cool things that you can do that are new. But I always suggest empty your buckets first. Clear your plates, and then you might only find one thing that transforms your organization or your job function. And empty those buckets first, and then do the really cool things. Now, I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. You are free to drop it in there. I'm going to keep moving just for time because we will get to some more questions. But there are 5 critical shifts that every organization needs to make right now. And these are not that complex, but they are important. The number one is you have to move from fear to fluency. Everybody's scared of AI. Frankly, if you are not a little scared about what's happening, it means you're not paying attention, because this is the word eludes me, but it is necessary for our survival, both as individuals and organizations. But that just means you have to understand what's possible. Then once you start to become fluent, you need to start to become empowered. You have to make that shift to where you are giving yourself and your employees and your organization the permission to play and to explore. And then document what's happening, because once the people feel empowered, it starts to create a culture of innovation. People start to love this. They start to get excited. But then they need to go from culture to balance, right? You can do too much. Like if you just throw a million AI projects at everybody, their hair's on fire, and no longer is this any fun. So you have to be a little bit careful. But then once you found the balance, you move into strategic leadership. You become an AI first organization. And AI first simply means, is there a way, just like the Shopify CEO said, is there a way for agents or AI to do this before we add headcounts? Now, one thing to be aware of, especially in larger organizations, I call this the AI productivity paradox. And what this means is, if you enable your employees to do more with AI and automation, and then their reward for that is more work of the same type, right? they are going to sandbag their work and they are not going to be innovative, because employees don't just want more work. Just because they can get something done 10 times as fast doesn't mean they want 10 times more. An example, marketing agency I was consulting, their blog writers would write like one blog a week for SEO. And AI came out like, well, we want you to write 5 blogs a day instead of one blog a week. You just, 50x my work. Although he could do it, he didn't want to do it. So he acted like he was knocking him out. And I found out because we were talking about this, and he said, look, I don't want to, I don't want just more work. This sucks. I don't like it. Like this, I feel like Lucille Ball in the chocolate conveyor belt, if I'm dating myself to that old clip from TV. So the solution to the AI productivity paradox is, if you're able to save your employees time and energy on something, don't only reward them with more of the same work, give them the opportunity to do better work, more meaningful work, and tap into their human brilliance, because they may be hiding something under their rote manual work that could really help transform the culture, the revenues, the profit. So now we're facing a new mandate in human resources. And once more, I use HR as both the department and the noun, the people. But HR needs to guide the AI transformation. It's more important now than ever to create a culture of innovation and to de-risk the implementation while empowering the people to do this. Organizations that aren't doing this, the people will know, because they want these skills. It's been demonstrated. Survey after survey after survey. They're either deathly scared of it, or they are excited for it, but oftentimes frustrated that their company won't enable it. My wife is a perfect example of this. She's a loan officer at a large organization, and they've just locked everything down. They don't let her use AI for anything. And she realizes how much better she could be if they would only let them do this. And, she's talked to other organizations that are enabling it. And, those conversations are being had. You don't want that to happen to you. Now, how do you lead through this change? Number one, you want to address the emotions and the expectations. This is one of the most emotionally charged technological transformations we've ever had, because it represents skill obsolescence at the greatest rate we've ever seen. It affects everybody. So people are noticeably worried. So if you can get ahead of that and let them know that as long as you're embracing this, as long as you're trying to drive forward, you don't have to be scared, because we need people like you. You need to see the opportunity and then manage the hype cycle, because the truth is there is a lot of noise and very little signal. As I mentioned, there's only 5 things that AI does. And there's only a handful of those things that really, really, really move the needle in an organization, which means that you don't have to do everything, but you have to find the right things to do and then begin to do them. So how do you lay the groundwork for success? If you're already doing this, congratulations. If you're not, it's as simple as first learning what's possible with artificial intelligence. If you don't know what's possible, you won't know to ask it, can it do this? And once you do start to see what's possible, you start to think, what else is possible? Then you need to ask, what specific problems need solving? And this is when you just go back to the buckets. I look at my buckets, I pick them up, I weigh them. Where am I spending the most time and energy and money? Well, is it creating content? Is it doing this task, like this HR professional that I worked with who said, yeah, this task that you helped me do with ChatGPT saved me a full week every single month of time. Like, she looked at me, she said, I think you saved me 12 weeks a year, which is 3 months. Insane. Then you have to find out what resources are available. And those could be what tools are available, what education is available, what training. There's a lot on YouTube, there's all over the web, but how do you know what is signal and what's noise? Finally, you have to ask yourself, what is the scale of the challenge we're trying to do? Are you trying to revolutionize everything you're doing, or are you trying to look for some pilot projects that can, be tested on an MVP, minimally viable project status, and just get that into work? Those are huge. Pilots are essential. You don't have to eat the elephant all at once. You can learn from failure, and you can choose these projects. Let's just try this. Let's see how it works. Let's make sure nothing goes off the rails. Your leadership, your employees, everybody will see that you're doing this. You'll be acknowledged for it. And bit by bit, you'll see some success. Lastly, how do you prioritize those projects you find? This is one of my favorite things to do in project prioritization. It's called the ICE matrix, and it's very simple. You just take all of your ideas for AI projects or any project in your organization, and on a scale of 1 to 10, you rank each one on impact, confidence, and ease. The impact means if I do this, what would be the potential impact on my business on a scale of 1 to 10, right? Will it double my revenues? Great, that might be a 10. Will it add 1%? Maybe that's a 1. What is my confidence in my assessment of that impact, right? So maybe it's something you've never done before. And you're like, well, we could try this. I don't know if it'll work. Maybe that's a 5. Like, yeah, it's got a 50-50 chance of working. But if you know that your competitor did it and there's nothing stopping you from doing it, maybe that's a 10 in confidence. The last one you would need to look at is ease, or the level of effort. If it's a 10, that means it's easy. Push a button, it's done. If it's a 1, maybe that means, we have to develop a whole new technology. It's going to cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. And even though it may have a big impact with a lot of confidence, it's not going to be easy. Once you do that, you simply, this is a Google Sheet, right? Nothing. This is an example. I've got 5 ideas: create an AI support bot, appointment setter, social media, GPT, etc. Which bucket are they in? And you can see these are just sample numbers, but impact 1 to 10, confidence 1 to 10, ease 1 to 10. And then you sort it by the highest score. Now, how do you get that score? You just take 5 times 8 times 8. I just multiply them. I just get a weighted average. But the score tells you which projects to focus on now, next, or never. And this is what removes a lot of the overwhelm. Weigh your buckets, analyze the biggest constraints. What's the heaviest thing? Come up with some ideas, score them on impact, confidence, and ease, come up with a total, and then go to your department, your leadership, et cetera. Say, we've identified a handful of projects. These are the ones I think will move the needle the most, and this is why. And I use these things every single week in my business, both personally for me and for my clients, because this is what keeps us on track for success. I got a couple more slides for you, and we're going to get some Q&A. What AI enablement looks like. Well, it could be as simple as this financial firm who created 90-minute weekly sessions with a specific focus on each week. They did a tool showcase, 40-minute hands-on lab, and then everybody discussed this afterwards. It resulted in 6 workflow improvements in just 3 months, and customer response template system, which I won't go into the details there, but it cut response time for customer responses by 42%. One more. This was a large resort down in Florida called Sandestin Golf and Beach Resort. So the company wanted to embrace this. They go, we don't know what's possible. So they did a workshop just exploring what's all possible. They empowered their department managers with budgets and ability to learn and get educated on this. And they focused on getting oriented first and then innovating. And as a result, in the first 60 days, they went from 5% of the employees having ever used AI at work at all to 80% of their managers, at least, are using AI every single day, from a 5 to 80% adoption in just 2 months. Now, the future is creating superhuman resources and an enhanced employee experience. This is what employees want. It's been proven, and it's also something that employees need, because if they're not doing it, they're going to be at a disadvantage. This is down to business survival. I am a big believer that 80% of businesses cannot feasibly plan past the next 2 to 3 years strategically of what's our 5-year, 10-year growth plan look like? It's impossible to know because things are changing so quickly. And the only way to surf this wave is to grab a surfboard and get on it and learn to surf, tumble around a little bit, but the waves are there and you've only got one option. So now that brings me to the end of the official presentation. If there are any questions, let's have a conversation and let's discuss.
There are, Brad. And so the first one I've got here is from, I believe it's from Brandy. It says, how safe is our data when using AI? And that's kind of a broad question, but what can you say about that?
That's a great question. It's one of the number one questions we get. And the answer is it depends upon the tools you use and the governance you put in place and the data that you're using. If you are uploading some very basic non-trade secret data to ChatGPT, to things like that, I'm going to say realistically, there's not much to worry about. tools like ChatGPT, all the language models, it's important to understand whenever you type something in, you are not uploading information into a centralized database that stores all this stuff for future use. At the most, what the systems do, and you can turn this off, is it trains on the context of the data. And it learns like how to work with the data, but it's not just grabbing this and memorizing it, which can be accessed by somebody else. That being said, the riskier the data, the more trade secrets there are, the less you want to put this into publicly available language models. That's why a lot of companies will create custom private, like on-site language models that are firewalled, so they don't go out to the web, they don't train any other people, but these are, we call this data governance. So there are procedures to do that. So yeah, the answer is it kind of depends what you're putting up there. Also, like if you work for Coca-Cola, I wouldn't be uploading the secret recipe to ChatGPT and asking how you could correct it.
Yeah,
But
wouldn't do that.
exactly. Do you
Um,
have any other questions?
we do. I think we got time for just a couple more here. But what specific training is needed for HR to become more AI fluent, would you say?
I believe to a degree, it depends upon where they're at now, where they're starting. If they're already on this road, they just need to continue to learn what's possible. If they're not, learning what's possible is key. You need to know some of the foundational principles of like what AI is, how it works. People think, is it just going out and scraping information and plagiarizing things? No, it's not doing that. It's much more complex, but they have to understand. Oh, I like to say, is those 5 buckets. Whenever I'm working with somebody for AI enablement, it's always let's discuss those 5 buckets first. What can it do in the thinking bucket? What can it do in the creating, communicating, analyzing, and automating? And then we like to view those from the lens of what does the company do? What are the tasks at hand? Obviously exec team needs to do a lot of strategy and ideation and brainstorming. Marketing team tends to need to do a lot of creation. Maybe customer support, et cetera, and marketing has to do a lot of communication. Everybody has to do analysis, and everybody can automate things. So auditing like finding out what's possible, but then auditing where your bottlenecks are is the first part. And then, if you want, go to YouTube, search for hours and hours on the millions and millions of videos on there that are created every single day and, stumble around. I mean, I honestly, I do a little bit of that myself. Or,
As do I. I'm just curious because we've got just a minute or so here left. But
yeah,
do you have some favorite tools that you can share? I've got maybe one
I,
other follow-up question if we've got time for that.
Yeah, I sure do. So, I mean, Chat GPT, the big language models are my workhorses. Chat GPT, Claude, Google Gemini, Grok, Perplexity. These are all, I use them all. I don't have a favorite for one thing. I kind of go back and forth. I use Gamma.app for the presentation software you just saw. I just discovered, and I've been using one that I'm loving called Gen Spark, Gen Spark.ai. As far as business analysis, there's one called AKKIO. I think it's .com or it's for data analytics. I'm trying to think what are some of the others. When it
Well,
comes to
while
automation,
you're saying that, or there's that pause for a second, I'll just quickly do this. I'll actually share a screen and show some folks. I get this in my inbox, I think on a daily basis, and I think it's a good newsletter to register for,
yep,
called Open Tools, and it's got tons of whatever's coming out every single day. There are new tools, more and more things to find out about, and it's a really interesting newsletter. So there's lots of ways to stay current and do some reading and just sort of explore because the tools are ever expanding.
I
The other
just
thing,
dropped one of my favorite links in the chat called futuretools.io. This is a former business partner, close friend, and one of the top AI influencers in the world right now named Matt Wolf. And he created this amazing resource of thousands of tools that you can just search for what's the function. And these are the ones that he and his team have looked at and they describe. So I go there all the time to see what's new.
brilliant. Well, Brad, I want to say thank you to you, and I also want to share with everybody too that Brad inspired us when we first met Brad. It's probably about 2 years ago now, and really AI was just sort of being discussed. It was really we were on the cutting edge, on the leading or the bleeding edge even of what was about to happen. And at that time, he inspired us so much that we actually ended up getting involved in a project that Brad had something to do with, to create our own AI bot, our own agent, as it's now called, just similar to Brad's, using a tool called Delphi, if I'm not mistaken, but a development tool to create this opportunity for people to basically engage. So at WORKWELL Labs, you can engage with the bot, and what's great is it's been trained with millions of words, but also a ton of our research and all the books that we've written, and a lot of the work of our collaborators and team, et cetera. And it's incredibly cool. So when I'm giving keynotes or I'm speaking to organizations, I'll say, look, if you want to ask a question and I can't answer it because I'm not here to do it, or you don't want to engage with me personally that way, or on LinkedIn or something, say go to the site and use the agent, because you can ask it anything. And it'll give you better answers than I might be able to give you, frankly, and has access to all the research and tools. So, Brad, you've just so inspired our organization. I know you've inspired everybody that you spoke to today, and all the people that are going to be able to consume this when we send it out wide to our list, and all that good stuff. But for now,
Well, it's
anyway,
my
I just
pleasure.
want to
It's
say
one of
thank
the
you
most,
so much.
yeah, it's my pleasure. It's a really fun technology. I feel like a kid in a candy store, like playing show and tell all day long and getting to tinker. But the cool part is, tinker with this stuff, you can actually make unbelievable progress, both personally and professionally. So thank you for allowing me to share.
Fantastic. Thank you, everybody. Thanks for tuning in. As always, we like to keep these things well under the hour. We're 8 minutes from the hour, so it gives you a moment to take care of yourself before the next thing that you've got going on. Please do that. Take good care, and we'll see you again on the next of an amazing series of webinars and presenters. So thanks again, Brad.
Thank you.
Ciao for now, everybody.